Welcome, everybody, to the Redzone Report, brought to you by PLB Sports Entertainment, right here on the Built in Buffalo YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter networks. It is my pleasure to bring you the show. Enjoy. Let's go, Bills. Welcome, everybody, to the Redzone Report. It's your man, Izzy, right here on the Built in Buffalo YouTube channel and Facebook and Twitter. So drop a like, share, and subscribe, please. It would be very much appreciated from us here at Built in Buffalo. And we have shows all week. You know, the Redzone Report with me, Billsology, the Sit Down, Buffalo Blitz. We have all kind of shows on this thing. Also, we have the podcast with T. Estelle, Not Your Avid Podcast, and the 716. The Witty Not Funny Sports. Check us out all over on different mediums, Apple, Spotify. We're all over the place. So check us out. And we are here today to discuss basically the opinions of the media, as you can tell by the title, because we all know how I feel about the Bills right now and how we at Built in Buffalo do. For the most part, you know, so we have some concerns, but really, the media seems to be putting out there that the Bills could potentially be on the verge of collapse. That the Bills have a lot to worry about because of Stephon Diggs and his situation. And I'm here to talk about it. So let's talk about it, right? A couple weeks ago, I did a show, and it was basically what could be the source of Stephon Diggs' frustrations. And those potential sources were Josh Allen, Ken Dorsey, Brandon Beane, and Coach McDermott. And there could be a bunch of possibilities here, but I already covered that in another show. This show is really to, discuss, are they actually falling apart? Are the Bills actually having an existential crisis? Now, I didn't do a show last week. A lot of this here has been discussed on multiple channels, on our channel by other people. And this is just my 2 cents in this subject, right? I was sick last week. I couldn't really go. I'm still a little sick now, but, you know, I'm pretty much over it. I had a respiratory tract infection, so bear with me. We got some comments already. Go Bills from Chris in the 716. That was at 3:25 p.m. So he was waiting for the show. Thank you, Chris. And Kim Boomhauer. Happy holiday weekend, Izzy. Go Bills. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And 10 years ago, I was concerned with this team. Not today. There we go. Junie's in here. Greetings, Built in Buffalo. Sophia God's friend says, welcome back, Izzy. Thank you very much. Still a little bit under the weather, but not so bad, right? And we've watched, you know, a lot of shows, right? We still watch TV. We still watch ESPN, Fox Sports. You know, pick a sports channel and we're still watching it. You know, we watch First Take, you know, Undisputed when it comes back. We'll end up watching that some. We're going to end up watching all these things. Stephen A. Smith, all the talking heads about the level of concern for the Buffalo Bills and their status when it comes to our, you know, all-pro, Pro Bowl, you know, top-end wide receiver Stephon Diggs and his, I guess you can say, antics, which, most people believe are warranted. They believe that he is not mad for no reason and that he has a justified reason to be upset, or had a justified reason to be upset because maybe he's not upset anymore. The stuff that's going around is that Stephon Diggs is still upset that the thing has not been resolved, and maybe it hasn't. Maybe it hasn't. Maybe this thing has not been resolved yet. Maybe Stephon Diggs is still quite perturbed and there's still an issue. And it's come out, for the most part, that the issue was the target share he received later in the year last year and in those playoffs. In particular, the last drive of the Bengals game where Stephon Diggs was in there on a 10-play drive and was targeted once. And the drive ended in a turnover on downs. Is it something to be worried about? Maybe. Maybe not. Is it something that the Bills need to address in-house? Absolutely, and it appears that they're doing so. It appears that Coach McDermott, who was very concerned that Stephon Diggs wasn't here, and then he clarified his comments, and that threw some gasoline on the fire, and people were like, what the heck is going on in Buffalo? Why is this such a concern? Guys like Nick Wright took the story and ran with it. And, that's their job. Their job is to get any of the juicy stuff that they can because there's nothing to talk about right now. Like this show today probably isn't going to be that long. Why? There's not a whole lot to talk about. This is what there is to talk about. The entire sports world is talking about Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen, Coach McDermott, and the Buffalo Bills. Right? The only other thing to talk about is the Jets possibly being forced to do Hard Knocks. But no one cares so much about that, right? The Hard Knocks is a show reserved for teams that haven't made the playoffs in the last 2 years. It's been longer than that for the Jets, who don't have a rookie coach and who have a big story to tell. And the Jets do. The Jets on Hard Knocks would be very compelling. Why? Because they just got Aaron Rodgers. Their team is assembled very well, and they are a threat to the Buffalo Bills and potentially the AFC this year because the Jets now have a quarterback. And they had a winning record last year without one. But the Stephon Diggs drama is bigger than that because we're talking about a perennial Super Bowl contender in our Buffalo Bills that have in-house drama. And so with nothing else to talk about, all the talking heads are speculating. Is it Josh? Is there a relationship falling apart? Is Stephon Diggs, going to try and work his way out? Some people even say weasel his way out of Buffalo. Some people are saying that, he may sabotage, this season. I don't see it. I really don't see it. I think that the Buffalo Bills are a team that is well put together, well managed, well coached. And that this is just a little speed bump they're going to hit. As in the comments say, Mr. John Roberts says, internal but a molehill, right? And my man Roy Collins says, honestly, I don't watch any of those shows. Maybe I'm an outlier. You probably are. If you love sports, you likely watch those shows. You don't have to watch those shows. Maybe you just watch me and a bunch of other Buffalo Bills content creators because maybe you don't care about other sports. Like me, I'm a big, Bills fan. I'm starting to get into hockey a little bit. It's still quite confusing. Not the actual game itself. I understand the game of hockey for the most part. I don't understand all the different ways that they play the game. I do understand the rules basically. And that's about it. Other than that, the draft process and the trades and how players move from team to team, I don't get any of it yet. Same thing with the NBA, the whole draft lottery thing, and this team drafts number 1 overall, but that player actually belongs to this team because, that whole thing, it's so confusing to me. But football's clean cut dry, right? It's a salary capped game, so teams have to work within the confines of a cap. The draft order is freaking not going anywhere unless there are trades involved. And the trades are clear. They're very clear. Everything is very purposeful and clean. Just the Jets traded away their first round pick and their second round pick and a conditional second round pick and then a 6th round pick for Aaron Rodgers and a first round pick. That's basically what happened there. Clear cut. We know that the pick that belongs to the Jets this year goes to the Packers, and the one that belongs to the Packers goes to the Jets. There's no question about any of that, right? You may not watch any of these other shows like First Take or anything like that because maybe you're not interested in that stuff. I love me some MMA. I love me some boxing. I'm starting to get back into basketball. I really kind of stopped watching basketball a while back. But football is where it's at for me. And so on my YouTube feed, I'll be driving somewhere, for work. And I do a lot of that driving, go from house to house, customer to customer. And sometimes those drives can be kind of long. I'll put on a sports show and listen to that on my way to a location. And that's it. But there's been a lot of talk about these Bills and how we're falling apart and how, Stephon Diggs is going to crush this team. But it doesn't seem like that from the players. The players seem to be pretty comfortable in everything that's going on. They seem to understand the frustrations that Stephon Diggs has. And if we know anything about this team rallies around each other. They don't just sit there and allow problems to fester. They go after the problems and they fix them the best way they can. Sometimes, fixes don't work, and sometimes they do. Most of the time they do. That's why this team has won 13 games each of the last 2 seasons. They won 11 games the year before. The Bills are a team that addresses issues, fixes them to the best of their ability, and then pushes forward. And that's the end. That's the end of that comment right there. That's the end of the story there. The Bills are always a team that goes after their problems and fixes their issues. 1 second, please. Okay, never mind. Wife was calling me for a second. See, Josh was seen at Stephon Diggs events. Yes, he was. That's why I don't see this as such a big issue. Maybe the issue isn't necessarily with Josh Allen. Maybe it's with the play calls and the offense attempting to use more players, which I don't think Stephon Diggs would have a problem with. But with him being used less and less throughout the year, that makes sense to me. It makes total sense to me. And Stephon Diggs is a leader on this team. It's his job. He's a captain on this team. It is his job to raise awareness to issues. He's supposed to do that. Just like Tre'Davious White is supposed to do that. And Von Miller is supposed to do that. And Josh Allen and Mitch Morrison. You name a captain on this team, it's their job to bring up issues. Maybe not necessarily in the media, but Stephon Diggs didn't bring it up in the media. It was just something that was observed, talked about, and the media ran with it. Steph didn't say anything to anybody in the media. He hasn't said anything since last year before the playoff game that we lost. And Stephon Diggs is the kind of guy who's probably going to keep most of his feelings internal. He'll send some cryptic tweets every now and then. The whole let them keep capping on me and, tell them lies, whatever helps you sleep at night. That's fine. I'm fine with that. He's not saying anything wrong about the team. He's not throwing anybody under the bus, right? If he came out and threw somebody under the bus, Bills fans would be livid. The media would have something absolute to run with, but he's not. He's keeping that in-house and looks like he's trying to be part of a solution and not the problem. I don't think he is the problem. I think that there is a problem, and Stephon Diggs is pointing it out so that way it can be rectified, and that's his job as a leader. Diggs is too much of a professional to do anything that would hurt this team. The man wants a Super Bowl. Yes, he does. Stephon Diggs got paid last year. He could have got paid, number 1 wide receiver, in the league if he wanted to somewhere else. The Bills probably wouldn't have paid him number 1 wide receiver in the NFL, right? But they offered him an extension. It's like 4th most paid in the league, behind Adams and behind Tyreek Hill and behind I'm forgetting who else is a super high paid receiver. But he's not a top, 3 paid wide receiver in the NFL, but he's arguably a top 3 receiver in the NFL. So I think there's a lot to really brace for. So they appreciate Stephon in the locker room. I read. Hey, I read that too. And his friends in the locker room are sticking up for him. That doesn't sound like a team in turmoil to me. Even Josh, who is proposed to be potentially the problem that Stephon Diggs is having, everybody's saying it's him and Josh Allen. And those 2 guys are brothers. Again, he was at Stephon's events. Whenever Stephon needs him by his side, he's there. Right? And whenever Josh needs Steph, I'm sure he's there. Those 2 guys have shown so much love to each other. since Stephon Diggs got to this team. I'm not sure where this narrative is coming from. Well, I'm absolutely positive I know where it's coming from. It's just the media doing what they do. You know what? It's a story. The Bills were a story all year last year. We were all throughout the media the whole year with all the problems that the Bills had. When it came to the snowstorms and playing in Detroit and DeMar Hamlin and Von Miller going down and Luke Knox passing away and the shootings and all the crazy stuff that Buffalo went through last year, we were sitting there in the media all year long. Spotlight on us. And you know what? They found another way to do it now. Bills are family, even Stephon. I agree. I concur completely with that statement. What's up, BIB? Media blew the Diggs issue out of proportion. I think they did, and I think that part kind of falls on the shoulders of Sean McDermott because he was very concerned. But he could have just been very concerned with the situation. Stephon Diggs, hey, this is a problem, coach. You know, and then they say, you know, we told him not to come to practice, but he's very concerned. He could have been very concerned with the issue that was raised. You know, he just finished having a practice without his star wide receiver there. And honestly, his star receiver doesn't really need to be there. Does anybody really think Stephon Diggs needs to be there if nothing's really changed within the offensive scheme or if it's just minor stuff where it's route running? He's one of the best route runners in the NFL. He's one of the best route runners in the NFL. And I don't see it as a big deal that he isn't there at this point in time. Training camp is more important to me. That's when you get yourself worked out. And he was there for the next day. They canceled the third day. Sup, Izzy BIB, hit that like button. Hit the like button, everybody. It would be greatly appreciated. But yeah, the Bills on the verge of collapse. It's possible, I guess. It's possible. The problems that are happening could be way bigger than anybody knows. It could also be, as one of you guys said in these comments earlier, a molehill, right? An in-house molehill. Just got to get the mole out of there, fill the hole and keep it moving. I'm not concerned at this point in time with this team's, resolve and with the way things are being handled. I think that there's probably some things being changed, right? Some changes that need to happen because one of your leaders stepped up and said so. Brandon Beane did his thing this offseason, bringing in difference makers. He brought in, Connor McGovern. He brought in Leonard Floyd. He brought in Poona Ford. He went and got these pieces to shore up problems. We lost Tremaine Edmonds. He drafted a guy. Maybe Terrell Bernard is the guy who's going to step in there. Maybe it's Dorian Williams. Don't know. Right? That's the question mark right now. That and what is Stephon Diggs' problem? Is it still a problem? Is it being addressed? Is it being resolved? What are they doing to do that? And those are answers we're probably never going to get. We're probably never going to get the answers to these questions. Why? Because they keep stuff in-house, which is the right way to handle family business, right? What happens in this house stays in this house. That's how you conduct yourself as a professional and as a family member, which is what they are always consistently preaching. We are a family. This stuff stays in-house. We deal with it. We sit down. We talk it out. We fight it out if we have to. That's what families do. I've had fist fights with cousins and then barbecued with them the next week. It happens. The Bills are a team that, I said that, and in the comments says the Bills, Dan Kirschman. The Bills are a team that operate on a wavelength that is togetherness, right? They're in Buffalo, right? This isn't Los Angeles where, nightclubs are open till always. They don't close ever. This isn't New York City where the city never sleeps. No, it's Buffalo. It's a family environment known for golf and tennis and softball and hockey and the Bills. And that's it. Right? That's it. We're known for good wings and pizza and food. We're known for bowling ball shots and tailgating. That is the Buffalo Bills way. Even when we had the drought, that was what we were about. Jumping through tables, spraying ketchup and mustard on people, bowling ball shots. You know, every now and then you rib an opposing player, an opposing teammate, you know, or not teammate, an opposing team's fans, right? They'll say, "Hey, man, your team sucks. Come have a burger." And that's what we do. That's what we do. This city of Buffalo, City of Good Neighbors, is a city that brings out that family, that community relationship. And that's how this team operates, because they went after a coach like Sean McDermott, who prioritizes these things. Family, very important. Togetherness, very important. Dealing with problems, very important. Consistently improving, very important. That's just how that's just how we operate in Western New York. Not just in Buffalo. I'm from Rochester. Same thing. Very community-driven city. It's better to resolve the issues in-house. No real reason to worry about it. Exactly. But the media, sports media, will sit here and make Bills fans worry about it. Some of us are kind of, I don't want to say gullible, because it's not something that, you know, you're just believing because they said it, but they're saying it for a reason. And generally speaking, where there's smoke, there's fire. But sometimes it's a freaking campfire. Sometimes there's some kumbaya going on, and you're just dealing with. Sometimes it's a barbecue. Other teams have bigger problems. That is a fact. Many teams have bigger problems. Many teams have bigger problems. To me, the Chiefs' offensive line is a problem, right? They lost Orlando Brown. He's now a Bengal. That becomes a problem for them and for us, because now they have a stud left tackle. But is he going to fit their scheme? I don't know. Is he pretty good? Yeah, he's pretty good. He's pretty good left tackle. The Bengals did some things to really address their team, but that's not to say that they were without loss. They lost both their safeties, and Von Bell and the guy Dawson Knox slammed into the ground. I'm forgetting his name. He's not there anymore. He's not a worry to me anymore. He's now in Atlanta. But Jesse Bates, there we go. Jesse Bates. Teams have bigger problems than we do. What's our problems? We have a middle linebacker position that's unknown. We're still having competition for our CB2, which I think is far more important. And our wide receiver has identified a problem that he has. And what? Oh, and our offensive coordinator is going into his second year. So we'll see. Even though in his first year we were still a top 5 offense in the NFL. I think that the Bills have some things to worry about, as in how they're going to adjust and change what they did last year that had them falling out of the playoffs, rather than worrying about some internal squabbles. They'll deal with it. And that's just how it is. It's just how it is. I think that a lot of this stuff is actually projection from, you know, fans of other teams. Like Nick Wright. Everybody knows Nick Wright is a huge Kansas City Chiefs fan. He's from Kansas City, and that's his team. That's his squad. So he hates the Bills. He hates the Bills. And you know what? He does that because the Bills are the biggest threat to him in the AFC, aside from the Bengals. It's the Chiefs, the Bills, the Bengals. Those are the 3 teams in the AFC. Now the Jets are kind of peeking over the corner or over the edge, and the Dolphins are, you know, kind of there, but, you know, the Jags, I think, are a bigger threat than people want to give them credit for. But a lot of these guys are making this stuff a bigger problem than it is, because, you know, they're preying on the downfall of the Buffalo Bills. And I think that that's really a fruitless thing to do. But you know what? They're getting paid to do it. So it's fruitful in that aspect. The Bills on the verge of collapse. With the general manager that we have, I kind of find that to be a joke. It's funny to me. It should be funny to you too. Now, training camp coming soon in Rochester, New York, Pittsburgh to be specific. Went to school there for a year. And it's just not that big a deal. We're going to go to training camp. Training camp is sold out. They're not short on attendance as of yet, because tickets got sold. You can't find tickets unless they're resold tickets to training camp. I used to go to training camp every year during the drought when I was in the military. We would, in the summertime, I would take a week of leave, go up to New York, see my family in Rochester, go to training camp, see guys like Stevie Johnson, Fred Jackson, Vince Young, and be like, okay, we could do something this year. And then we never did until Sean McDermott got here. People are saying that the Bills should fire Sean McDermott. What is that about? What is that about? Fire Sean McDermott. Hey, the guy who's been to the playoffs every year but one as a head coach, as a defensive coach, developed a project quarterback from his rookie year on, has given his offensive coordinators the trust and the reins to the team, and people are saying fire him. What are we talking about here, folks? Who are you going to replace him with? Who are you going to go get? Some unproven OC, some unproven DC. It'd probably be an OC because everybody wants us to have an offensive head coach that I hear this from, because defensive coaches aren't doing it. I'm calling nonsense on that too. Just so happens that the last few have been offensive coaches. The defense always catches up to the offense. It just does. In the NFL, you'll have years where the offense takes a stride and the defense catches up. It happens. It happens. It happened with the whole Wonderlic thing I talked about years back, where for a while there, the Wonderlic really didn't matter for quarterbacks. You could score a 12 on it and have a Hall of Fame career. That stopped in like 2008. Stopped in like 2008. 1998 was the last time a quarterback scored lower than a 20 on that Wonderlic and became a franchise quarterback, and that guy was basically done in 2008. Now it's Don McNabb and Steve McNair, who was drafted the year before. They just, as offenses started to develop and become more high-flying, defenses adjusted, and quarterbacks who weren't smart enough to really deal with that ended up out of their positions. It's just how it works. Then you get guys like Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, name one, Ben Roethlisberger, cerebral quarterbacks who are just able to pick you apart. Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, guys who with high IQs that could really carve teams up. And that is a big change that happened in the NFL. Defense is caught up, offense is adjusted. Now defenses will catch up again. If you look at 2019, the year Lamar Jackson won the MVP, there was a big shift there. I don't know if people noticed. That was one of the weaker years for quarterback play. And then the very next year, offense took off again. And there was like 5 quarterbacks who had a better year than Lamar Jackson's MVP season. Let's see. I have an idea for BIB. There are always seats available at the red and blue game. How about BIB have a little party and meet up at the red? So you have to pitch that one to Dave. Dave is the man for that. All right. He's a great coach and earned his place in Buffalo. What's up? I think McD is good, but not Super Bowl good. Not like Sirianni. I don't know how we could really measure that. I just don't. And you could say that he hasn't made the Super Bowl yet, and that's fine. I think that he is Super Bowl good. I think that he will get there eventually, whether it's with this team or somebody else. If the Bills fired McDermott, he'd have a job tomorrow. If they fired him now, some other team would fire their bum of a head coach and hire Sean McDermott. If we fired him and Pete Carroll retired, he's the Seahawks head coach the next day. The next day. Yes, Dave is the man for all that. So, and this isn't to disrespect Nick Sirianni. I think he's a hell of a coach. In his second, third year as a head coach, he's doing excellent. He didn't win a Super Bowl either, so we'll see. But if for some stupid reason the Eagles fired him, he'd have a job tomorrow too. There's a handful of these coaches that have that leash. The Bills apparently don't see that. They just re-signed him, and they re-signed Brandon Beane through 2027. Those guys are going to be around for a little while. They're going to be around for a little while, and I'm happy they're going to be around for a while. It took Andy Reid to year 18 or something like that to win his first Super Bowl. I don't want that for Sean McDermott. I'd like for him to win it sooner. And, other coaches have won it within their first 3-4 years as a head coach, like Doug Peterson, who's doing a hell of a job in Jacksonville right now. From what I can see, he's doing a hell of a job in Jacksonville. That team looked like a dumpster fire the year before under Urban Meyer. It was Urban Meyer. Clearly, they have talent. They just need to build more talent on that team. So you have some guys out there who are getting to and winning Super Bowls early on in their careers, but for the most part, most head coaches don't win them that early in their career. They just don't. Sean McVay, another guy, won it within the first few years of his career as a head coach. Got to one, his second year as a head coach? Then he trades his quarterback and then wins one immediately. And then last year, when all the, the walls came falling apart because of the cap situation they were in, they were a dumpster fire. And they still had stars, but those stars were getting hurt. Freaking Aaron Donald dealt with injuries. Matt Stafford out for the year. You had guys go down. It happens. So Knox, Kincaid, and Allen were at tight end university. I think that was an awesome thing. I think that Josh Allen is doing everything in his power to become familiar and more familiar with his teammates. He's doing what he can to really hammer stuff home. So at tight end university, Kincaid and Knox are learning and becoming better students of the game. And if you're their quarterback, why not attend with them and help them with what you do in your offense? It's a great thing to do. Build timing with Kincaid. He has no experience with Kincaid yet. So what do? You go to tight end university with him and you help him develop that timing, that scheduling, that hey, on your break, ball's coming in hot. If you break deep, ball's coming in high. So be ready. You played basketball. Get ready for them ups. The Bills made a lot of decisions this offseason that both baffled and amazed a lot of us, right? They drafted a tight end round one. Everybody's like defensive tackle, linebacker. Let's go get Drew Sanders or Jack Campbell or, Simpson from Clemson. And then they traded up for a tight end. So a lot of us were baffled by that and confused, but also like, oh, okay, they're trying to give Josh some more firepower, right? Because that offense was terrible in that Bengals game. It was terrible. Right? They drafted Osiris Torrance. Everybody saw that coming because he was one of the guys that people were saying we could take in the first round. Somehow he fell to us. We drafted him. Us making these moves like that in the draft and just saying, you know what? We're not going to spend that much in free agency. And they held their word to that. They paid one guy pretty decent money, and then Connor McGovern. Everybody else kind of just fell to them. Poona Ford, I'll take less to play for you guys because you guys look like you have a chance to win a Super Bowl. Leonard Floyd, I'll take less to come play for you guys because you guys look like you'll have the potential to win a Super Bowl. That's like the third wave of free agency. And the man Brandon Beane upstairs is still able to, get people to come to Buffalo. But this team is on the verge of collapse, according to a lot of media sources. I'm not buying it. Can't afford to buy it. Right? Money's short. It is what it is. Brandon Beane will tell you money's short. What I'm concerned with is just the Bills' ability to actually sort the problems out. They've been very successful doing that. I think that they'll continue to be very successful doing that, but it is still work. And, they don't succeed every time. Who does? But you know what? I'm proud to be a Bills fan. I'm happy to be a Bills fan. I'm happy where my team is right now. I will be happy to see how training camp goes. I will be happy to see, Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen and all those guys get on the field. Guys who are starting to wow Josh Allen, like Trent Sherfield, who's out there just working hard. And Josh is like, this guy just works. Khalil Shakir getting work with Eric Moulds. Freaking Gabe Davis working his butt off to get back to prime form so he can not have another disappointing season. And here's the thing. His season was only disappointing because of his catch percentage. Other than that, 45 catches for 850 yards and 7 touchdowns, I think it was. To most wide receivers drafted in the 4th round, that's not a disappointing season, but to Gabe Davis, it was. Let's see. This one right here, Torrance, yep. You know what's up. That man's going to be a mauler. See, MLB stopping the run and dealing with big wide receivers are my biggest issues. I think the Bills can deal with big wide receivers just fine. I think it's dealing with the really talented ones. The Justin Jeffersons are the ones that really burnt us last year. Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, guys like that who have like skills. Like they're tall. Like I think 6'2", 6'3" for those two guys. They're not huge. Like T. Higgins didn't like tee off on us. It was the big guys, the big names. And so we got to watch out for that. How many passing tees will Josh Allen toss this year? Oh, that's a toughie. So barring any kind of catastrophic injury, I could see Josh Allen possibly throwing 40. I can see him throwing 40. He's got more targets to hit now. He's got guys who can actually get yak like Deontay Hardy, who I think, even though I don't think he's going to have a huge role percentage-wise in this offense, he's always got the potential to break big plays. Both are 6'4". Okay, so I'm wrong about those two guys. They don't look that huge to me like that, height-wise. See, hopefully Gabe stays healthy. Yeah, his ankle was an issue, but I don't think an ankle is an issue with you catching the ball. Like getting to a spot to catch the ball, sure. But hands on ball, bring in. 51% is not going to cut it. But, again, he only caught 51% of the catches thrown his way. Excuse me. And the man still had 850 yards, all those touchdowns, but he dropped a whole lot of passes. And so we can't have that out of our number 2 guy. Hopefully he stays healthy, like you said. And Gabriel Davis apparently has been working on his technique for catching the ball. So I can't wait to see him on the field. I can't wait to see Josh. Can't wait to see Diggs. Can't wait to see what this offensive line looks like now that we have removed Roger Saffold, which is addition by subtraction, honestly. Just anybody but him. And it's no knock on him as a person or player in his past, but clearly he's washed. He's clearly washed. So it's time for him to pack it in, go home, and enjoy retirement. But, yeah. Gabriel will be on point this year. I hope so. I think that Gabriel Davis will. He has a lot to prove. He had a disappointing year last year, and I guarantee you that no one was more disappointed in his play than him. I'm willing to bet that. I'm willing to bet he's going to do everything in his power, especially since it's a contract year. He's going to want to get paid. Now, are the Bills going to pay him? I don't know. See what kind of money the Bills can scratch up. You can't keep everybody, though. You can't. That's why you drafted Dalton Kincaid in round 1 and a Justin Shorter in round 5. And you have Khalil Shakir still. And you have Trent Sherfield. You have these guys that you brought in to get a look at to see, can we afford to let Gabe Davis go? But falling apart, collapsing, I don't think so. But ladies and gentlemen, that is my show. God bless all of you. Go Bills. And yeah, I'll be in Rochester, New York in a few weeks. So hopefully I'll be able to get to Buffalo and hopefully I'll be able to get to training camp and see some of you guys. But if not, I'll be around. Then I'll be back down here in North Carolina. So you guys have a blessed day. Have a good evening. Enjoy your 4th of July. God bless America and go Bills.